When it comes to setting and enforcing class norms, one of the things that I think helps make it a great success is when you involve the entire class. So these norms aren't necessarily norms that I'm telling them that they have to follow. It's really a group effort to sit down and say together, what do we want our classroom environment to be like? So some examples have been, don't raise your hand while someone else is speaking, just so that everybody is more engaged in what that person is saying. It's little things like that that everyone collectively decides on as a group. And when you bring everyone into the conversation, it actually makes it much easier to enforce. Typically, if we see that some norms are breaking down, we'll just sit down and have a conversation about it and revisit those and remind everybody of what they signed on for and what everyone agreed to. But I find that because it's collaborative, students really enforce it amongst each other because they want to get the most out of the experience.
There's a wide-ranging discussion that happens at the very beginning, and it's very much about, do you mean for people to raise their hands when they speak? What types of ways should people challenge each other? When should someone say, hold on a minute, I don't really understand what's going on? We try to encourage that because we want to create a self-policing and supportive environment.
From the very beginning of my time working with prep, I knew that it was very important to set class norms. So from my first session in the classroom with the first group of students, I followed actually the Darden method of just outlining very deliberately that it was important for us to have norms and that there needed to be mutual respect and that I was there really for them and to help them get the most out of that experience. And so I had certain expectations for how they would also conduct themselves in the classroom. But really, I think in addition to that, it was all about the tone that I set with them and that I was there as the teacher to help them get the most out of the experience, and that I was really there to try and understand and to help them bring their past experience and their best self to the classroom, so they could all also learn from each other. And that tone, just like any kind of culture in an organization, is really set from the beginning. So I worked hard to do that from the first interactions that I had with all of my students.
What you try to do is hope that the class itself, again, begins to enforce. But there will be times when there could be relatively egregious challenges around someone in the room. And then it's contingent on you as the discussion leader sometimes to politely ask, wait, weren't we waiting for someone to raise their hand? Or another thing you might say in a certain setting is, does everybody understand that? Because if you don't, you can sort of raise your hand or raise your tent to slow us down. And so these are ways that you can continue to remind the room of the norms while at the same time making sure that they still have the responsibility for them as their own group.